KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show.
13th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710. KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up with the greatest country in history. Colorado might be blue, America's red, but it all meets right here on the Jeff and Bill Show, where we encourage you to be a part of the conversation by giving us a call at 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971 or texting us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. The big news, and we're going to get to Blake Olson here real quick, Operation Rising Lion. Bill and I were talking about literally this exact situation yesterday.
Just yesterday.
Which was, would the world really miss the top leaders of Iran being wiped off the face of the earth?
Jeez.
Who would respond? What would be the response? All that stuff. And lo and behold, apparently Israel was listening and sent 200 fighter planes off.
Didn't know we had this kind of power. We need to be very careful about the topics we suggest today because things could happen. Really good things, really bad things. Maybe we should start talking about what store should give away free pizza this weekend or something. If we're going to speak truth to power,
right.
might as well.
Bruce Almighty power right now, right?
Exactly. That was crazy. Yeah.
So we'll get into this. We want to get your calls. What does this mean? How should Iran respond? If they respond, what could that respond look like? Was Israel justified in this? What did Donald Trump know? When did he know it? All of that. Let's kick it off with news first with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning, TGIF. 57 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 88 today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, DJT, calling a meeting of the National Security Council this morning in about 3 hours after Israel's military strike against Iran. It was against military and nuclear sites. Iran has responded by launching over 100 drones at Israel.
We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey.
Reports say the strikes have killed at least 3 of their top generals, and a few hours ago, 47 posted on Truth Social saying, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just could not get it done, a peace deal. DJT said he warned them about the weapons and that Israel knows how to use them. He said certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead now. He also said there's still time to make a deal and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all, says DJT. A federal appeals court is allowing President Trump to keep control of California's National Guard. This after a federal judge on Thursday issued a ruling that halted the Trump administration's deployment of military troops in L.A. They said he didn't have the authority to nationalize California's National Guard. 47 said, "Thank you for the decision." Denver police say that they are aware and prepared for the No Kings protest scheduled for tomorrow from noon to 4 at the Capitol. California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla bum rushed and crashed a Kristi Noem press conference on Thursday. Nobody knew who he was. He interrupts her, and it wasn't during the questioning period, after storming into the room, pushing back against the detail, creating the theater and drama. He was cuffed in the hallway outside and had a press conference. Imagine that. Amazing. All planned afterward, after his fake suffering in the hallway. But, man, it was just great audio when you hear the handcuffs click and they throw him down in the hallway after the clown show that he presented at the Kristi Noem press conference.
If this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
What did you think of the acting job? What would you give it?
I mean, classic,
Yes.
right?
No doubt.
In many ways, liberals are so they act like little toddlers when they don't get their way, right? They just stomp their feet
a little bit,
and they get angry, and they're so emotional. And why wouldn't Kristi Noem stop what she was doing to listen to me?
Right. So bad. I mean, dude, you interrupted. Well,
Yes.
Everybody knows. It's just sickening. But dummies are going to look at this and say, "Oh my God, can you believe
so
what
brave.
they do?"
So brave.
Now, like clockwork, Jeff, all the dirtbags come out on social media. You saw this, like Pete Booty Fudge, because he fudges everything. Here you go, Pete.
Hey, it's Pete. Like so many people around the country, I just saw something that made my stomach turn.
Like you breastfeeding with your husband. I continue.
Something I didn't think that I would see, even under this administration. A United States senator pushed to the ground and handcuffed after asking questions of a federal government official.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
What a phony.
That's all. Well, you know, January 6th was just asking questions of federal officials.
Yeah, that's all it was.
If that becomes the line, right, that gives you the freedom to just walk in and disrupt whatever you want. I'm just asking questions of federal officials.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, man. And there's more of it. I'll have the rest of that this morning.
Question.
I
got a
just
question
can't
for
believe
both
that
of you,
was
though.
the U.S.
Go ahead.
senator from California.
Got a question for both of you, though.
Yeah.
Is handcuffs the appropriate response to that disruption?
Maybe a billy club.
Okay. If that's true, do you expect the same response if someone disrupts the presidential address to Congress? Where do you draw that line? If we're talking about disruption of a formal event or a formal public
we know
event,
who it is. I guess if you know, they didn't know who this guy was.
Well,
But
and also
did they
he
take any
didn't really
measure?
leave when he was asked to
understand.
leave. That was part of the
But
problem.
again,
That's true.
they also, though, didn't make any attempt to identify who he was. They didn't ask for ID. They didn't speak to him once. Once he identified himself, they made no attempt to identify who he was. The question I really have is that the appropriate response? He should not have disrupted. He was out of order and he shouldn't have, but is the appropriate response handcuffs of that disruption? And if so, does that mean any other similar disruption by someone of any party of a public event like that can result in handcuffs? And the one you look at is the major address to Congress or the State of the Union. We have members of Congress that have disrupted that event. Does that mean now they need to be placed in handcuffs and removed from the floor?
Once again, the cameras are on. They're sitting where they I don't know this for sure, but those Congress people, men and women, they're sitting where they typically sit. Is that correct? During those?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So they're recognizable for the most part. They know what's going on. In this whole thing, they weren't certain. I mean,
they made no
how
attempt.
Did you know?
They made
how
no.
Did you,
hang on, Blake. Though, they made no attempt to identify him. They didn't ask for any identification. They didn't even ask him to verify it. And again, if they didn't,
I'm looking at video though, and there's a longer version up where he is incredibly physical.
Yeah, and
with
he's
the law enforcement
too.
and a big guy. I mean, he's shoving them back.
Yeah. But again, my point is, did they make any attempt to verify who he said he was before placing him in handcuffs? And is that the appropriate response based on what was doing? He was disrupting. And the issue is, if the disruption takes place, is handcuffs the response? Is that fair? So is that what you expect?
In the way you're describing it, Bill, it comes across to me as, oh, he just stood up like it was at the State of the Union and made some remarks. He is pushing back on these guys. He's refusing to leave. This thing is a lot more active.
And he was walking toward her.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes.
Right.
And then the security starts pushing back on him, and he says, "This is who I am."
Now you're a U.S. senator. Okay. We'll just let you continue to disrupt.
No. The idea is you sit there and you stop and you de-escalate the situation. That's the issue. Is you turn around and you say, "Sir, I need to see."
He shouldn't have been doing any of that stuff.
I didn't say he should have. I'm just saying that the response, the people responding, the security, make no attempt to identify who he is or verify who he is. And they're the ones that get physical and push him back. And I understand why, when someone grabs you and starts pushing you back, that you would push back. I understand that. And yes, he does get physical. But the issue being that they make no attempt to verify his identification. And is that an acceptable result to put him inside of handcuffs?
Yeah,
so again,
after seeing how he's acting, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think because Marjorie Taylor Greene yelling some comments
back
during the State of the Union.
But isn't that disruption? If she's told to be quiet,
it's not
she's been
just
told
disruption.
to sit quiet.
This is again, this is incredibly physical.
But the security grab him first. He doesn't run up and grab the security guards. He's not the one that gets physical first. That's important inside of the dynamic.
No, he was the one who got physical because he was walking toward.
No, he got up there, yes, but the security comes up and gets to him. The security comes up and stops him, as they should have. And he should not have come in, and it was not the questioning time. The question I've got is that response. The idea that we're cheering this response, don't get angry when that response happens going the other direction. Don't get angry and scream and yell about the fact that this is some sort of an overreach. If this happens to a Republican who disrupts another event, possibly with another lawmaker, don't then complain about it. All I'm saying is I'm just searching for consistency. I'm not defending his actions. I'm just saying that if you're defending him being placed in handcuffs and the fact that the security did not try to identify him, then don't complain if it happens to someone that happens to be of your party. Understand then you have accepted this as the standard for how we can deal with people in this situation.
Who on the Republican side's acting like this? I understand getting up and shouting a little bit during the State of the Union. And who's the guy with the cane that did that during this last State of the Union?
From Houston,
but shouldn't
he was just escorted. Nobody got physical. No one had to put him in handcuffs.
But we had people, and there were people on social media saying he should have been placed in handcuffs and arrested.
I think he should. I think he should have because
physical.
Because he posed a threat. I mean, he's an able-bodied, big dude. He's walking toward her. It's a smaller room. He was aggravated. We didn't know if he was drunk.
I know,
we didn't know if he
I know,
was
but hang on a
high.
sec, though. Here's the idea, though, is as soon as he identifies himself and they start pushing him out of the room, they can assess, did he have a weapon? Was he drunk? All of those questions you have could have been answered, and they also didn't seem to take any effort in order to determine that.
Monday morning quarterbacking, Bill.
If I may,
never acted that way in the first place, and now we're picking apart how a security guard in the heat of the moment responded.
Yes.
No, the bigger issue is he acted a fool.
No, hang on, but Jeff, hang on.
Terrible in the situation.
Hang on. In
totally
the situation,
inappropriate.
no, hang on a sec though. In the situation, the onus of the behavior is necessarily on the law enforcement person, security guard or otherwise. They're the person that should have the training and the knowledge as far as how to deal with the situation.
I think
you're
they
not
handled
expecting.
it fine.
I think they handled it.
And
okay,
you're like, sit down, assess who it is, have a conversation on what he had for breakfast that morning to figure out if it's affecting him.
Yes, that's the way that I would have gone with it. But hang on a sec. You all are saying this is okay. So all I'm asking for is, if and when this happens to someone that is a member of the Republican Party, remember this moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
That's fair. Okay.
To answer your question,
all I want.
If he was a Republican, I would expect them to do
all I
the
want.
same
so
thing.
disruption that is similar to this can result in handcuffs, and we're okay with it. That's
and
all I'm
I wouldn't
asking
have minded
for,
if they put
that's
a
what you
knee
want.
on his back either, even if it's a Republican.
So now we can get physical with him in this case. Okay.
I mean, here's the
fair.
thing. If I'm a member of the media, I'm in that room, I would hope they would do that because it's our protection also. It's everyone in that room. It's about safety. Absolutely.
But again,
you're never going to see a Republican do that, I promise you.
Yeah, we'll see. They've disrupted other things before, and then the idea of yelling at people. I mean, I get
Bill,
no-name
we're doing
Republican.
the classic lib mix-up words and violence stuff that's happening right
I'm
now.
not.
Here you have a guy that's clearly getting physical.
No, I'm
and
not.
we're comparing it with Marjorie Taylor Greene yelling something during a State of the Union.
I'm not necessarily mixing the two. We talked about the other Democrat who stood up, and after security came over to him and grabbed him, he pushed back. Should that have been handcuffs? That's all I'm asking for.
No, Al Green should not have been put in handcuffs.
I know.
Because
I'm just asking
totally
for
different situations.
I have been doing this since we started the show. I'm just asking for consistency. If you
I
think
hear
this
it.
is a great idea,
absolutely.
All I'm saying is, if you think this should have, I don't think it should have resulted in handcuffs. Should he have been removed? Yes. Can they get physical with him? Yes. Should they have tried to identify him? I believe so. You all don't believe so. You all believe that in that situation, handcuffs are the appropriate response. That's fine. I accept it. I'm not arguing against that at this point. All I'm saying is, let's put a pin in this, and if something like this happens in the future, don't complain about government overreach.
I will not.
That's it. That's all I'm asking for.
I will be the first one cheering.
All I'm asking for.
Dumb Republican.
All I'm asking for.
What is wrong with you? You walk in there, it's not even a time to ask questions. You interrupt, you act like a boss hog bully. You walk in there, you intimidate the woman speaking at the lectern, and you scare everyone in the room. You're a dumbass. I mean, absolutely. If it does happen to a Republican, I hope they put handcuffs on him and hurt him a little.
Okay, that's all I'm asking for.
And let's expand this conversation. The video of him getting handcuffed, he continues to resist and fight with law enforcement.
It's always about resistance.
What is the responsibility among an elected U.S. senator to comply with the orders of law enforcement?
Right. He doesn't know better?
Well, the thing
Really?
is, again, I disagree that there was a threat at that point. I think that was excessive.
This is like
it does matter.
This is
Yes,
like when you're going to have the fight on the side of the road with law enforcement. If you feel like you've been wronged, you don't think this thing is right, you comply, and you take it out at a different time and place, likely before a judge. He is fighting with law enforcement all the way to the ground. Once he's on the ground, he continues to resist, continues to fight back against law enforcement. He won't listen to them.
I disagree.
He's a U.S. senator. Here's what happened. Bill,
I have seen a lot of resist. Jeff, I have seen a lot of resist.
This is the guy who walked in who thinks he controls the room.
Yes.
He thinks he's the king of the universe.
No, he doesn't think he's the king of the universe.
So angry about the fact that anybody won't let him just interrupt a press conference. And he continues to fight with them.
No, he doesn't think he's the king. No, Jeff, he doesn't think he's the king of the universe. That's going a little bit too far. Does he think that he gets special privileges because he's a senator? Yes. Because inside of D.C., he gets special privileges all the time because he's a senator. Yes. Does he believe that he can walk into the side and disrupt the press conference randomly? Yes. Absolutely. However, I've seen a lot of people fight on the ground when trying to be handcuffed. That is not a hell of a lot of resistance. He was still trying. No, he was trying to identify who he was and talk to them at that time, and he was trying to turn over. That's fine. But as far as a level of resistance, that was minimal at best. I don't believe it was a handcuffing, but that's fine.
This is no different than the person who goes, "Get your supervisor. They're on the side of the road.
Yeah, true.
They clearly broke the law.
Yes.
And it's get your supervisor. I demand them.
And in my mind, this is nothing more than the security guards coming forward going, I'll show you who's in charge. I make the rules. That's it. I think it's an overreach. We can disagree on that, but I'm just looking for. There was no threat at that point, and he wasn't a threat. And if they thought that he was a threat, they misidentified it because he was not a threat. If they think we were protecting the people in the room from what? An old senator that was not armed yelling words? We're protecting them from words.
He could have pulled out a gun.
They didn't search him. They didn't try any effort to see whether or not he had a weapon. So don't sit here and say that he was this threat at that time. That's the issue. I just am asking for consistency. I don't think that what he did was right. Yep. I think the handcuffs are too far. But I just want consistency. That's all I want on this.
Once again, if a Republican does that, hold your breath, by the way. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. But if a Republican does that, I will be the first one cheering on security. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right, I love it. I can't wait. Let's get the calendar out, and I can start Xing the days.
Let's do it.
Air India confirms at least 241 people are dead after the Boeing 787 -8 Dreamliner bound for London went down just after takeoff. An absolute miracle. One passenger survived. I saw the video. I don't know if you guys saw the video. I'm assuming this is real. A 40-year-old man is walking off to the ambulance. It is incredible how this guy survived that crash. And I think he gave an interview. I don't have the sound right now, but incredible that he survived that thing. The only survivor, 241 other people passed away. Okay, I have some great moments from Capitol Hill. I'll play those in the next hour and throughout the morning. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. NHL Stanley Cup Finals. This was incredible. I sat down. I turned it on. It's started the second period. It's 3-0 Florida. And you're thinking, oh, it's a hockey game. I mean, there's no way they're coming back. In the Stanley Cup, Florida's up 3-0. I sit there. I am Edmonton's good luck charm. They score 3 goals in the second period. It's tied at 3 after 2. And then in the third period, the Oilers score their 4th goal. They're leading 4-3. They were down 3-0 in the first period. Amazing. 19 seconds to play, and Florida scores the game-tying goal with about just over 19 seconds to play. Incredible game. It goes to overtime.
Bouchard with it for the Oilers. Now Ekholm. Bach pulls it. Cross-ice pass. Draisaitl towards the net. Score! Leon Draisaitl in overtime. The Edmonton Oilers tie the series. 2 games apiece.
Unbelievable, and they do it with their backup goalie. 54 in Broomfield, 55 in Aurora, 57 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Warm summer-like days and mild summer-like nights as we head on through the rest of the week and head into the weekend here in northern Colorado. Denver, the Front Range, will see highs in the 80s today and Friday with afternoon and evening scattered showers and thunderstorms. Overnight lows mid to upper 50s. Bit warmer for the weekend, upper 80s into the 90s. Lows mid to upper 50s in the weekend will bring a continued chance of hit or miss late day scattered showers and storms. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Would love to hear from you about the Senator Padilla issue. Was he just trying to ask questions? I'm just trying to ask questions.
And should he have been handcuffed? Is that the point? Is that an appropriate response to that? If you were in that similar situation, would you assume that that would be the response of security, to put the person in handcuffs?
The Lincoln Project, arresting officials from the opposing party is authoritarianism 101. And then Libs of TikTok responded with mugshot of Donald Trump. Oh, Gavin Newsom, if they can handcuff a U.S. senator for asking a question, imagine what they will do to you.
Yeah, pretty sure, though, that Trump's arrest went through grand jury first. Just saying.
Reminding folks that Gavin Newsom threatened to throw people in prison if they went to church 5 years ago. So, join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. Guys, if you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Bill, while folks are calling in and joining us to discuss the Padilla, lots of text messages. Last night, Vic Vela launched the Back from Broken Foundation.
It's been great having Vic in the studio with us a couple of times.
It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, you went into enemy territory last night. This is not necessarily a friendly Jeff Hunt crowd.
Oh, it was fine.
Yeah.
And
tell us about it.
It was their very first event, and as you know, Vic Vela, 5-time Edward R. Murrow award-winning radio host, personality, writer. This guy's incredibly talented and has now launched a new foundation that's all about really going after addiction in all of its different forms, whether it's alcohol, tobacco, mental health issues, depression. So I joined Yadira Caraveo and Kira DeGry Kennedy, and I think Adam Berg was his name as well. But Yadira Caraveo being very open about her mental health challenges and how she got herself into a place that was really problematic because, and I've forgotten that she was a doctor, a pediatrician, prior to becoming a lawmaker. So that's not easy. Going through that entire career and getting your medical degree and all the work you have to do to become a doctor, and then to go into Congress, which is wildly stressful, had just put her on a path of really bad mental health issues that she had struggled with. And now getting the work done, and then she confronted some of the allegations in The Sun that were made. If you remember this article, she had just announced she's running again, and she had tried to commit suicide twice while serving as a member of Congress and trying to run again. And her staffers, she disagreed with the depiction of some of the safety treatments that were put in there, but didn't deny how deep some of those mental health challenges were for her. So she was very honest. It was a powerful evening. Tip of the hat to Vic Vela for putting it on, for allowing me to be a part of it and having a really good conversation. So I don't think anybody but maybe one person in the room agreed with how we should confront living in the streets, being drug addicted, with me on this, because in my mind, you either get the help you need, you leave the city, or you go to jail. I don't think it's compassionate as a society to allow people to live intense drug addicted in our communities. I just don't think that helps anybody. And I think places like Portland, Oregon have demonstrated that your society really crumbles when you allow that to happen. So you got to get very clear with people that have addiction issues. We'll provide all the help. Look, there's plenty of organizations that will help you. But you are not allowed to live drug addicted in a tent. That to a predominantly progressive audience, they got me a little shaking of the heads.
I'm sure.
They were not such big fans of it. But afterwards, a lot of people came up and said, we don't have this dialogue anymore. Like where people on the right, left get together. And I was you should tune into the Jeff and Bill show.
That's a weird show
every morning for 4 hours.
I know, every morning. It's weird that they're like, all of a sudden people are like, what? Nobody does this anymore. Do it every morning. Every morning we're here doing
So we're
this.
getting out there. We're making a difference. But
Excellent.
Vic Vela, powerful night, first event they've ever done at his new foundation, having people be very honest about the addiction issues they've struggled with, and then real, down-to-earth, like honest policy discussions about how we address people in our communities that are drug addicted. What do we do about this? How do we... I mean, we even got to going after, the marijuana industry, and Yadira Caraveo and I having moments of agreement. She's a Democrat, and Gabe Evans is a friend of mine. And so we're on stage coming together, talking about how the marijuana industry has produced this high-potency pot. They're targeting at people. They're trying to get people addicted to it. And it's a real problem. So it was coming together. But wanted to square that circle, as they like to say.
That
Vic
was really cool.
Vela,
You did that was nice.
Live in studio twice to talk about the event. It turned out to be a smashing success. He did a great job. And I wish the very best to the people
that's
of
wonderful.
the Back from Broken
So
Foundation.
proud of you. That's fantastic. We wish him the best. That's great.
So join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Should Senator Padilla have been arrested and handcuffed the way he was yesterday, or was that an inappropriate way to treat a U.S. Senator just trying to ask a question? We'd love to hear from you. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, the text messages are hot this morning as Senator Padilla taken into cuffs trying to question DHS Secretary Kristi Noem yesterday. So let's go through these. Most of these are directed at you, Mr. Bill.
That's such a surprise.
A senator, this is 3631,
Yeah.
A senator should certainly be allowed to speak. But why couldn't he have waited until after she was finished speaking? But he wouldn't have had his grandstanding effect, would he? So do you think he was trying to grandstand?
I think he was trying to be disruptive. I think he was walking in there to the side and trying to interrupt why and where she was speaking. Yeah, I do believe that he was disruptive. However, I do not believe the appropriate response to the disruption was handcuffs. I think there were other ways to deal with it. Yes, could have and should have been removed from the room. But at that point, we get ID and we escort him outside the room. We sit there and we get him and say, sir, this is not the time. We'll take the question. There's other ways to deal with it to de-escalate the situation. For me, I saw the situation become escalated based on the response. So that's what I was looking for. I'm looking for in that type of a situation where after the first 10 seconds, the individual does not pose an immediate threat to anybody around them or in the room. At that point, for me, you make an attempt to identify who they are and you escort them out of the room. I don't think that handcuffs is the appropriate response based on what I saw. People in the text messages disagree with me. But yes, I do believe his goal was to be disruptive because of how he walked in and he immediately started speaking over the top of her. Yeah.
I think Democrats are way more willing to disrupt events to try to get a point across than Republicans are. You see it pop up every once in a while with Republicans, but I mean, there's examples of lawmakers in Tennessee, for instance, interrupting proceedings because when they don't have power, they're willing to use it as an effort to try to shape the narrative, get their point across than Republicans are. So, yeah, I mean, it's I think he was trying to set get across a belief, trying to influence the policy discussions on this, And I've just found that Democrats are far more willing to be disruptive in order to achieve that. Bill, 8422 writes, if I behaved in the manner he behaved, I would expect nothing less.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine. If that's how you wish to be treated, okay, that's fine. Do not complain if it happens to you, family members, or anybody you support in that situation. Go right ahead. That is fair. For me, I think it's a little bit too much. Okay, we disagree on that.
Doug saying, I do agree with you, Bill, but it must apply to all sides. I also think the cuffs were a necessary response. Security's job is to remove all potential threats, not just to the speaker, but to the crowd as well. Once he's removed, he can ID himself. But yes, it applies to everyone. It was very clear he didn't want to leave the room. And I think, in my mind, the justification for the handcuffs was the fact that he was pushing back so aggressively when he was asked to leave the room.
Was he really that aggressively?
Oh, yeah.
Was he? Because the thing is, I have seen aggression inside of bars. I've seen aggression on sports fields. I've seen aggression in grocery stores that are far beyond that. That, to me, was minor at best. That, to me...
Minor?
What I saw
Dude,
from...
he's leading. He's at, like, this angle, pushing back against...
He looked like one of my kids when they were like 7, throwing a temper tantrum that didn't want to be put in the room.
Your kids aren't this tall. What is he, 6'3" or something like that?
Again, I don't view that as necessarily a giant threat at that point, and especially given his age. No, there was nothing there that showed
This is
threat.
an administration where the president has faced 2 assassination attempts.
Yeah.
They don't mess around at all.
But again,
Zero tolerance for acting a fool.
President wasn't there, and there was no identifiable weapon.
Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security.
I know, but you said this president. You said
I said
this
administration.
Okay, fair enough. This administration, fair enough. But again, after he doesn't have a weapon, etc., that you can't sit there and say
that. They don't know if he's going to pop out, but he's in a federal building.
Mean?
So
what do you mean? Yeah, exactly. Thank you for proving my point. Yes, don't bring in the idea of the assassination thing in here.
But they don't know. Maybe he snuck something in. God, they got to get him out of there. And he is aggressively, forcefully,
when he says, "Wait, I'm a U.S. senator,"
you
can kind of try to verify whether or not his ID is okay. There's an issue there, and he has no weapon. There's not violent. There's anything like that. No, It didn't deserve handcuffs. But let's see what Brian from Arvada says.
All right, this is Brian from Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning. It was nice to see you the other day. Thanks for coming out with us, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's nice to meet both you guys.
And I just wanted to let you know, Brian, that George Brockler said that he was worried about the space-time continuum when you and Joe from Arvada got so close. He thought there was going to be some sort of temporal disruption, that we were going to lose some time. He just said, when you get that 2 powerful forces of nature together, strange things can happen. So we had to be careful, man. I appreciate
Oh, that is so great. That is so great. I agree with Joe most of the time. He's more passionate than me, and that's the best way I can say it.
Yeah,
he's
what's
a
on your
good
mind,
guy.
man? Why am I wrong about this? What do I get wrong?
Democrats are the escalators. The left are the escalators. It's shown time and time again. And then we get, the conservatives or the right gets criticized for the response to the escalators. They're the ones burning flags, throwing rocks, throwing things at people, threatening people's lives. And so, the Secretary of Homeland Security is in a building, and in this powder keg environment, some aggressive person is charging or going towards her. Definitely force needs to be used to get them out of the room. He didn't go peacefully. When I always tell my kids, if you get pulled over, if a cop is being aggressive, you be compliant. If you're compliant, guess what? There's not going to be the chance of the situation escalating is small. But if you're defiant, there's a chance of escalation. So I say, whether they're right or wrong, be compliant.
Yeah,
I
understand what you mean,
Brian.
I understand what you mean about escalation, and I do agree with you in some of the examples that you gave. But there are examples on the other side of conservatives escalating situations, either individually in groups. So it does happen, but I do agree with you that many times the Democrats, and the liberals, what Jeff outlined before, do seem to escalate things a little bit quicker. I will absolutely concede that one. But what I'm curious about is this man a threat at that point. I understand the disruption walking in, and once he identifies himself as a U.S. Senator, again, security doesn't know that, but they make no attempt to verify it. The man doesn't have a weapon, isn't reaching for a weapon, and yes, he's a senator inside of a federal building, and yes, he will push back when security is escorting him out. The issue I've got is no attempt to verify his ID once he was obviously not an immediate threat to anybody in that room, and his handcuffs the necessary response at that point. I think the handcuffs is a little bit too much. I'm not going to clutch my pearls and run around like a bunch of libs I saw yesterday. No, this isn't the start of an authoritarian militaristic state. No. But I do believe that security in this situation, based on handcuffing him, went too far, especially once he's out of the room, the threat ceases. There's no more threat.
How do you verify he doesn't have anything threat on his person if you don't handcuff him and pat him down?
Well, here's the thing.
Just because he yells "who I am," that doesn't mean anything. I could yell a Mickey Mouse. I'm not going to get into Disneyland for free.
Yeah, but in order to make that aggressive move, he would have to do something with probably his hands. And so once he has his hands up in the air, even if he has a gun behind him, as long as you have vision on his hands, as long as you have contact, you can see it, you're fine at that point.
I think they should have tased him.
Wrong.
Brian, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call.
It was good to see you the other day.
303-696-1971. That would have made his point really strong. Come on, Senator. Take a tased for the cause. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is News Talk 710 KNUS.
You gotta love the show.
Yes.
Bill Thorpe getting everyone riled up.
I know.
Heading into work.
It's my job. I'm sorry. Happy Friday.
Don't tase me, bro, is what the senator should have been yelling.
Yes,
as he was.
He should have. And that came a suggestion from the text messages.
I know.
That is freaking brilliant because he says that because we both agree. And our audience knows he was looking for a viral moment.
Yes.
He was looking to go viral, not in the way that he thought this way, but that's what he was looking for. And the don't tase me, bro, that would have been it. If he would have sat there, don't tase me, bro, that would have been the moment. That would have been, he missed it. Oh, text messenger, you're so smart. That is so cool.
All right, so speaking of a little levity, now
Yes.
it's time for the loser edition of You Choose the News.
Yeah, speaking of losers, yes, I'm being self-referential there. It is time for America's favorite fake radio news game show. But today, it's all about the losers.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser.
You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Yes, these are the stories that Jeff and Blake felt weren't worthy of our attention just earlier this week. A few days ago, no. Don't pay any attention to these, but they are back for a second shot at glory. You know how this works. America's favorite fake radio news game show. Scour interwebs, find dumb stories, even more ridiculous headlines, and nobody knows we're doing this. So, shh. Still a big secret. Alrighty, Blake Olson is joining us from the news department. Jeff Hunt still in the studio, despite recommendations from his family to abandon me at the show. But still. Okay, now, here we go, gentlemen. Your headlines this morning. Headline number 1, Sammy Hagar approves. Headline number 2, famous tourist. Headline number 3, self-checkout. And headline number 4, religious experience. Mr. Hunt.
Start with the famous...
Famous tourist?
Tourist, yeah.
Famous tourist! We are spending our time right now in Monroe, Michigan. Recently, the town of Monroe became all a Twitter. Things went all abuzz because of a famous tourist who was walking around town, none other than Bigfoot. Yes, there was a Sasquatch sighting recently. A 47-year-old man who was referred to as Edward said he was out bow fishing with his 12-year-old son. They heard a rustling in a tree, followed by a big thud. Then something hit the ground. Edward said he saw a big, heavy animal that hit the ground and crouched before him, then started to move towards them. Said then he ran off in the other direction when his dog started barking. Said it only lasted a few seconds, but he and his son are convinced that this more than 6-foot-tall, large, furry creature is Bigfoot. And Monroe has gone nuts for it. In fact, even going so far as some local businesses are offering Bigfoot discounts. If you hurry to Monroe, you can get a discount from the local cannabis dispensary if you bring in photographic proof to prove you're not high. Yeah. So I just like the fact that on their sign it was, a discount available if you have photographic proof. I'm like, okay, good marketing. But yes.
I love it.
So
way to take advantage.
I know. Yeah. Very smart.
Situation.
Alrighty. Blake Olson, sir. Sammy Hagar approves self-checkout, a religious experience.
Let's go with Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, Sammy Hagar approves. Now beware, bad drivers. Some states are punishing you with a Sammy Hagar law. Yes, you might remember his big hit, I Can't Drive 55. Washington State has just become the second state in the union, joining Virginia to enact a law that will place speed limiting technology on cars of drivers who just can't figure out what that black and white sign at the side of the road means. That's not a number as far as a high score you're trying to beat, kids. It's actually supposed to be a limit. So, yes, both Washington State and Virginia will now put limiters, much like the drunk driving thing, that your car can't go faster than a certain mile per hour.
So lame.
Leave it to Washington.
I know.
Really, you guys don't like this. I would have thought you all, the guys that wanted the senator handcuffed would have been like, yes, prevent these scufflaws from going so fast. We should restrict them.
Yeah, I'm going back to John Vandermeer, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to put a little pedals in the metal. Maybe nobody's around to keep it safe, kids, but, the government stepping in to go, put governors on your cars. Now they have the ability to turn off cars during high-speed chases, too.
Yeah,
the government does now.
Yeah, in some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
It has some of the technology. But yeah, I know. So yeah, think about that, though, when you're speeding. That would have really helped Little Billy, but we'll talk about that differently.
How much does that cost the state of Washington?
I don't know. I didn't look at that. I'm not sure. Okay, here. Well, let's move on to the final story this morning, self-checkout or religious experience, Mr.
Religious
Hunt.
experience, please.
Yes, religious experience. Recently, 2 hikers contacted forest rangers in Cascade Mountain of New York because, oh my God, they were out partying with one of their friends and he died. So it's two of three people. One of them's dead, and they're calling 911 to report the death. This is crazy. Finally, Rangers get there because this is a life and death situation. They want to figure it out. And wait, how come the third dude's come back from the dead? He's alive? It turns out the first two hikers had ingested hallucinogenic mushrooms and just fantasized that their friend had died, and so they thought he was dead. And so, yes, he came back to the dead. He was always like, Lazarus, I didn't know you were my friend. And so, yeah. And just think, we can now
They came back from the dead.
Yeah, now we can do the mushrooms thing here legally. Great. Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, back to you, Jeff. That's India Choose the News.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
I promise I'm not dead. This is KNUS.